je me suis brossé les cheveux aujourd'hui, alors je peux avoir du chocolat. Bon. Bonjour et bienvenue dans un nouvel épisode de Paul Jenkins Languages. Bonjour tout le monde, troisième classe à la maison de jeu. Okay, vocabulaire. I've already gone through this in previous lessons, so watch those if you want to do it again. But I will. There we go. What I will do is read through these verbs again as well. And if you could repeat them after me, that would be great. Je retrouve mes copains. Je joue au baby-foot. Je bavarde avec mes copains. Je joue au billard. Je vais au bar. Je joue au foot. Je fais des concerts. Je regarde un film. And then what would take that a bit further is this gap fill, where you complete the gap with the missing verb. So it's testing your ability to work out which verbs go with which activities. For example, number one is done for you, or letter A. Je joue au basket avec mon frère. I play basketball with my brother. Couldn't be je joue la télé. That's why you can't say I play TV in the evening. It doesn't make sense, does it? So have a go at completing those. And my hint would be that if it's J apostrophe before the verb, that means the verb would have to start with a vowel. Hint, hint. If you're working through the lesson now, hit pause. And then I will go through les réponses. Et voici les réponses. See letter E, j'écoute. Remember, if it's beginning with a vowel, you can't have those two vowels. You couldn't say je écoute, it's too many vowels. J'écoute. What you'll have noticed for many of those verbs is that they ended in E. Ignoring je vais and je fais for the time being, let's come back to verbs which we call ER verbs, which means the infinitive, the to bit of the verb, like to watch, to play, etc. That bit in French ends in ER. Look there. Regarder, to watch. Jouer, to play. Bavarder, to chat. Now, this is where we start advancing so we can talk about what different people do. So we're very good at saying, like, I play football, je joue au foot, or I watch TV, je regarde la télé. What we need to do is be able to talk about other people. So, for example, you play football, tu joues au foot. Now, that tu joues there, that joue is pronounced the same way as je joue, but actually look at the spelling, tu joues es. Now, this is because when you're forming these verbs, you need to add different endings. You take off the ER, and for je, for I form, it's an E. For tu, you form ES, he, she, we, an E as well. Now, this is always a bit of a strange concept, particularly for native English speakers, but look at the English on the right-hand side here. I play, you play, he plays, she plays. Notice that play changes to plays for he or she, or one plays, which sounds a bit royal. One does play football. So actually we do that in English. We would add an S on the end. We would change the ending of the verb depending on who is talking. And the same thing happens in French and many other languages, I should just point out. But it's just much more obvious in French and happens a lot more. These verbs here are regular, which means they fall into a pattern. So, for example, tu joues, es ending, you play. Tu regardes, es on the end, you play. Tu bavardes, you chat, es on the end. And actually, if you went back to the previous slide, we see there écoute, the verb écouter, to listen. Tu écoutes, you listen, es. So all of them follow a pattern. So actually, when you've worked out how to change them around, it's much easier. However, aller, the verb to go, and faire, the verb to do, are irregular. Je vais, I go. Je fais, I do. Please make sure this table is copied into your book or paper or typed up or whatever you're doing with your remote learning. Particularly sometimes you get stuck. I quite like wordreference.com, mainly because it has really good forums where people have posted different translations. Some people use the Collins online dictionary as well. But particularly if you are looking up, you're doing, say, a French reading and you were looking up a word, you make sure you need to use the French-English version. Right. Activité numéro 4. So this is a verb table. This is, let me move that out of the way. There we go. If I do that, I'm still in the shot. So what this is doing is getting you to practice different verbs and being able to change the endings. So, bavarder, the verb to chat. Je bavarde, I chat. Tu bavardes, es on the end, you chat. Il, elle, on bavarde, he chats, she chats, we chat. And what you need to do is fill in that table with the different endings. And what you'll notice is that all of these verbs will end in e here, es there, and e there, and it's showing that you can do that, showing you can change those verbs, which then means actually you can have a much higher range to what you can do in French. For looking at what the infinitives mean, you might well have to use wordreference.com, French into English, and what you should have, let me just give you a pause if you're doing this, so you've got time to do the work. Remember, as always, if you need to rewind, listen to something I'm saying again. I'm doing a lot of these as live takes, so it's pretty much done on the fly. So if you need to re-listen to something I say, please do. That's fine by me. This is the joy of doing stuff online, that you can pause, you can work through at your own pace, you can fast forward if I'm boring, you can rewind if I'm explaining things badly and you need to hear them again. But you should end up with a table like that. Look at what you get here. Rester, the verb to stay. This is a trick one, by the way. Rester means to stay, not to rest. It's a bit of a trap. Je reste, tu restes, es, il reste, he rests. And notice that if you took retrouver, the verb to find, it's the same as je retrouve, tu retrouves, il, elle retrouve. Two different verbs, you've taken off the ER and then put your different endings on, and that is how we start cracking verbs in French. Woo! So one of two activities to have a go at. So for these, it would be putting the correct form of the verb in the je form. So regarder will go to je regarde. I'm going to go for the hard one, because for this one, it's not just je, I, but sometimes it's a different pronoun. So sometimes it's tu, you, sometimes it's il, he, or elle, she. So for example, number 2, it wouldn't be tu bavarder avec tes copains, because that literally means you to chat with your friends, which makes no sense. You want to say you chat with your friends, which would be tu bavardes avec tes copains. Je fais une pause. Voici les réponses. Answers coming in now. Notice always when it's to you, it ends in that es ending. Rule of thumb, generally in the present tense in French, so when you're talking in the present, anything where you're using to you form, very rarely will that not end with an S. If you know a verb in the present tense in French that doesn't end with an S in the to form, put it in the comments below. I think I can remember one. No, I can't remember any off the top of my head. I'm sure there's one or two somewhere. Every rule has an exception, people. Okay, dernière activité, last thing is reading activity, where you're reading through Juliet, and this kind of includes bits from last week's 3.1 about school as well and where you live, and kind of rounds up activities at the youth club we've done this week. So sentences A to F and true or false. If it's false, correct the false sentence to what the true sentence is in the text. je fais une pause avant de vous donner les réponses. Voici les réponses. What I've done there as well, just to show you where I'm getting those from, is I've underlined in red the bits in the French that show you where the answers are. Because I know sometimes it can be tricky for people to read a big chunk of text, so what I've done there is pick things out. So look at F. Her favourite animal is a dog. That's false because it's a horse, because it says, mon animal préféré, c'est le cheval. Cheval, horse. Ok. Je crois qu'on va s'arrêter juste là. Fin de classe. Let's stop there. Merci bien à toutes et à tous. À la prochaine fois. Au revoir.